Hello, everyone. I hope all is well for you. Today, we are talking about the current quantum travel system and how it really needs some work and updates. Besides that, I wanted to say thank you for the support as of late. It really has meant the world to me, and generally speaking, it has made doing this a whole lot more fun. I'm currently working on making a Discord of sorts. It's really kind of bare bones right now, but I am going to add the link to that in my channel information section. Besides that, though, I really appreciate you. Thank you for being here. And let's talk about some Star Citizen. So, first off, let's discuss the current system and what the issues are with it. We aren't really going to focus on bugs here, as we are mainly talking about the system fundamentally, but that doesn't disregard the fact that this system can be incredibly buggy. And I really hope that CIG takes the time to clean it up soon. I don't have to say much. 4.0.1 is generally a buggy patch, so naturally the quantum travel system is in there as well, and it's going to get affected. And it is pretty rough right now. But again, like I said, we're not going to focus on that because that is not really the fundamental aspects of the system. That is just the unfortunate state of how it is in the current game. So just we got to hope that it gets fixed soon. Besides that, though, we know that the quantum system is really just sending your ship to a specific marker in space and waiting for your ship to get there while it flies on rails. Once your ship enters quantum, you can go hands off and simply wait for your ship to get to the location you set. And whilst this would be nice if it were real life, it is not very enjoyable from a gameplay standpoint. Let me give you a quick example of what I'm talking about. So, currently, CIG is running the fight for pyro missions. Once you pick a faction, you are locked to it for the event. I decided to side with the Citizens of Prosperity as I was previously doing missions for them, and little did I realize that these missions consist practically of quantuming back and forth between locations for an incredibly long amount of time. Now, this is the phase one aspect of it. We actually just hit phase two before I was writing my script for this. That actually generally consists of a lot of quantum travel as well, a little bit more action, but the average quantum time I had getting to those missions was about 9 minutes. So definitely still a lot of time wasted. But the average quantum travel for the phase one missions was a little under 5 minutes one way, meaning I was spending about 10 minutes AFK whilst I waited for my ship to get to the location. Now, if you decide to accept multiple missions and collect all your needed cargo at the Stanton Jump Gate for the Phase 1 missions, you can cut that time down by a decent margin, though the point still stands. The majority of the missions consist of you doing absolutely nothing while in Quantum, which really is not an enjoyable form of gameplay. Now, if you are willing to take the risk, you can always get out of your seat in Quantum and maybe try to organize your inventory or put guns on the gun rack, but there aren't enough ship systems to interact with right now that really take up that time that you spend traveling in Quantum. This is the main issue with the current system. You are stuck in a ship on rails with very little to do while in Quantum. Not only this, but you are limited to where you can Quantum right now. If you want to go somewhere without a marker on it, you will have to either fly to it manually, which can take a very long time, or try and cancel Quantum mid flight to get as close as you can before you have to go manual. So, how do we fix these issues or generally make it a more enjoyable system? Well, we already know that the new quantum system will be a little bit more hands on, meaning when you are using quantum, you will need to lock into the quantum bubble for the first portion of the travel before you can take your hands off and let it do its thing. This by itself will take up a bit of time and create scenarios where you can fail to jump if you don't manage to lock into the bubble. This might seem frustrating to some, but I really do think that this will keep the player more engaged during the start of the jump. We also know that the new system implements the quantum boosting mechanic, making short distance travel a much better experience overall. Boosting will require you to stay hands on the whole time, so I'm not too worried about the boosting experience. But what about after you lock into the quantum bubble for a long distance jump? Well, that's where we have to talk about features that exist outside of quantum. The first is engineering. Once this is implemented into the game, hopefully interacting with your ship becomes a bit more meaningful. And I think this could really help during long jumps. If you know that a jump will take a few minutes, taking some time to go and maintain some of your components might be a good use of your time and keep you busy while your ship gets to the location it's heading to. Once we can start storing armor in suit lockers, maybe you can take this time to outfit yourself with your needed armor for your current situation and prepare yourself with the weapons and tools for the location you are headed to. This will be very dependent on the situation simply because some armor and wearables can't be used when in the pilot seat. Naturally, unless quantum jumps get significantly shorter, there will always be some time where you don't have much to do. This isn't something that will kill the gameplay, but I do encourage CIG to try and keep the player engaged a bit more when possible. With the introduction to Pyro, travel times have gotten much longer and much more frequent. I also think that the system will feel a lot better when we get more in depth missions and gameplay. Unironically, I think the quantum travel system can feel a lot more frustrating and tedious simply because where you are headed to doesn't bring much value to the player. This will have to be heavily considered for professions like cargo hauling and passenger transport. Creating gameplay is going to be necessary to keep those professions engaging for players, as well as generally all professions. And though I think we have gotten some decent gameplay with Pyro, there is still a significant lack of progress and value behind most of what we do in this game. Now, taking a moment to really dig into that a little bit more, when you consider things like the quantum travel system, like we talked about in this video, the current system just is boring. You don't spend a lot of time doing anything. That really is time where you kind of hop off the game and play on your phone or look like scroll on something on some sort of social media app and just wait for you to get to your location. And adding this new updated system and possibly updating more ship systems so you can do more during quantum travel is a positive change overall for the quantum travel system. Now, if you consider the depth of gameplay that we have in Star Citizen currently, I don't think that updating the system would really fix all that much. Now, of course, you would be a little bit busier during quantum travel, you would get more done, maybe feel like you're doing a little bit more for your ship. But again, and I think this applies to every single feature and system in Star Citizen, is that until we get more in depth gameplay, these updated systems won't matter nearly as much because what we're doing, what we're traveling to, everything that we actually spend our time working towards in this game has very little meaning and depth behind it. Really, the only meaning we have behind a lot of the things we do is monetary value. Even for these fight for power missions that we talked about earlier, they really pushing this hard narrative of these factions really going hard at each other. They're putting out marketing material that makes it look like they're raiding each other's bases, all this crazy stuff. And then you hop in game and it doesn't feel like that. And I think if you were to update the quantum travel system today, and kind of like record the amount of enjoyment that goes up just from adding this in, I think it would go up naturally because you updated the system that is originally more tedious, but I still think the overall enjoyment of the game would still be quite low, not only because of bugs but because of lack of gameplay. Now, I don't want to go on too much longer about this, but I do think that can apply to, again, every feature in this game, and it is a glaring issue for the overall state of Star Citizen. Hopefully, within this next year, we get a little bit more gameplay. We can hopefully get this updated quantum travel system, and they can start bringing a little bit more value to the player when you decide to actually do missions, maybe more depthful gameplay that'll keep you hooked for longer without questioning what you're doing and why you're doing it in the game. So, besides that, though, I appreciate you listening to that smaller tangent right there. I try not to be too negative when I'm talking about these things, but I do think that that is a little bit more of a negative subject in terms of Star Citizen. Outside of that, back to quantum travel, how do we summarize the changes needed to change the quantum system? Well, we know that the current system leaves the player waiting and unengaged for long periods of time. To change that, the new quantum system will improve this through hands on quantum boosting and requiring partial hands on for long jumps. Systems like engineering might provide some gameplay during long jumps, and new ship features might allow you to get a few things done to prepare for your next mission or objective. I also just think this new system looks really clean as well. That's my personal opinion, but the animations for both long distance and boosting feel very punchy, which I really do appreciate. I think they also really did a good job by adding music in the last few patches to the quantum travel. Just in general, it sounds beautiful. The soundtrack for this game is great. And I also appreciate that they made some of the travel times a bit shorter. Before, in the last few patches, you would get some really long quantum travel times, even in Stanton. So I think changing that for Pyro was a really great change. Outside of that, the quantum system still has a way to go before we get it to what we talked about in this video. It has been about a year and a half since we have last heard from it, and it's basically been radio silence ever since then. I do hope and I have faith that this year might be the year that we at least hear news about it and maybe see it in game. But I'm not holding my breath again, like many of the features. I'm just going to assume that we're going to get some smaller features first, and then that'll come later down the line. Outside of that, I really do appreciate you watching and being here. I feel like I've gotten a ton of support as of late, as I mentioned earlier, and it really has meant the world to me. Like I said at the start, I am creating a Discord channel. It's very bare bones, like I said. I have the link in my channel, and I'm also going to start memberships soon. These aren't going to be the craziest things so far, and they really will be if you just want to support the channel. And they are completely unnecessary unless you really want to. And I do very much appreciate any of you that decide to do that. But all the support I need is from you guys showing up here, commenting, just interacting with me. That is really the stuff that keeps me going and enjoying what I do here. So membership stuff will be completely optional. There's absolutely zero pressure to do that at all. Outside of that, again, thank you so much for being here. I really hope that we see or hear something about this quantum travel system soon. I would love to hear how you feel about it, and I also would like to hear how you feel about these fight for pyro missions that are going on. Do you feel like the narrative is decent at all, or do you feel like it's kind of like every other narrative mission where it just doesn't feel like something's going on? Outside of that, again, thank you so much for being here. I'm trying to put out a few more videos this month and get some more topics going, but we'll see how that goes. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one.